Good afternoon. Welcome to our virtual meeting with facilities and finance. Before we get started, we got to make sure we have a quorum to thank you for the workers.
Sure. Mr. Uxer.
Present.
Did he say present? Ms. Sanchez.
Yes, I did.
Here.
Mrs. Robles.
Present.
Dr. Graham.
Here.
Ms. Nahara. Ms. Nahara. Ms. Pena. Ms. Pena. I can see her.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Haggerty.
President. I'd like to also let everyone know that you can contact this teleconference by dialing toll-free number 1-844-621-3956. Enter the access code 120-309-8316 to access the call, and when requested, enter the number. And through an auto feed found at youtube.com/goepcc. I want to welcome and to call this meeting to order. We've already polled the board members. Is there any public comment?
No, sir.
No. All right, the session item. Mr. Perez, are you present?
Yes, sir.
How about I read the item?
All right, we're going to go ahead and let Pam read 5.1, and then you'll be on, Mr. Perez.
Item 5.1, Mr. Paulo, that is Program Manager ECM, will provide an update briefing on the progress of the Combined Fee Revenue Improvement Bonds Series 2016 program. The briefing items will include, but are not limited to, a general update, including schedule and budget for all 6 projects, as well as an overall bond schedule and budget update.
Okay, you're on, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, Dr. Serrata, Chair Haggerty, board members. We'll begin this meeting. There will be no action items, so I took the liberty of including a few more photographs to share with you. The first one, obviously, is the Mission Del Paso, and the project for all practical purposes is complete, but we have not granted them substantial completion yet because the gas company, actually the gas company's fault. It took them about a month and a half to come connect the gas, and then once they showed up, they wanted a reductor to be installed. So that is being installed now, and we're going to try to get the gas company back to the building on Friday. And that's when I told the contractor we'll issue substantial completion to the date that we have gas to the building. Other than that, there's a few items like the IT is not fully connected yet. There's some punch list items they still have to address. But overall, it looks great, and everything is pretty much in place. Those new pavers in the front and in the back really, really look good. We've started with some outdoor furniture. The outdoor furniture in the back under the balcony, we haven't installed yet because the contractor wants to do some power wash. And you'll see in some of these pictures that the concrete is a little dirty for tire tracks and things like that. So we're going to do a full pressure wash of all the sidewalks, and then they'll come and install those in the back. But in the front, you can tell there's already some benches, and they really look good. Here's an aerial view of that back area. You can see, and I'll have a picture in a minute I'll show you. In the balcony, we already have that outdoor furniture as well. Inside, everything is pretty much done. There is some detailing that still needs to happen, and the standing of the stairs. They've been the wood stairs. Folks have been pretty slow, but but it's pretty much done. Now we just need the little detailing and the staining, and it should be complete. Other than that, as you can tell, looks very good. There's the multi-purpose room on the left, and that's the cardboard is just to protect people from walking on the rubber surface. But I tried to include some photographs that I didn't show you last time of areas that I didn't show. I didn't want to repeat the same pictures. On the right side, you can see the computer lab with all the furniture and all the equipment in there. There's a reception desk there on the right side. On this picture is that anatomy lab on the left, and on the right is the geology and physics lab. Seems my connection's a little slow, so sorry about that. Okay, so on this one, you can see the corner nukes and the furniture is there. We'll just take that plastic at the very, very end when everything, including the punch list stuff, is done. On the right picture, the reason I include this picture is, and the reason why there's no furniture there yet is, once this was in place, everybody agreed, including the dean, that the color of those metal elements, it really doesn't fit. So the reason we don't have the furniture there yet is they're going to repaint those to go more with the color palette that we have in the building, more of a gray looking finish. Here's a picture on the left is of a typical office, and on the right is the balcony with all the outside furniture. The tables, and it was the same thing with the benches, they have this protective wrapping on it, so you're not getting the full effect yet until that wrapping is removed. And here's an aerial view. As you can tell, it's pretty much there. The landscaping is in. There's a little bit of dirt on the west side, but other than that, it looks very good. And we already actually brought in a registered accessibility specialist to walk through just to make sure there was nothing that would catch us off guard for the final inspection. There were a couple items that we're addressing, but nothing really major. As far as everything else, everything has been punched. All that punch list items are in progress. We're starting to back check all those punch items, and so I'm still gonna bring it next meeting. I'll still cover what progress we have, and then probably after the next meeting we'll drop this one out of the presentation. Budget-wise, we're doing real good as well. So here's Rio Grande. It's very steadily moving.
Mr. President, I hate to interrupt you, but back on the mission, John Uxer, would you tell me why the gas company wanted to press the reduction valve for the gas company?
Well, actually, it turns out, and this could have been solved a lot earlier if they had gotten there a little faster. It turns out that they do require, it's part of the code for them. And so the contractor turned that around pretty quickly. They submitted to the engineer of record, and he approved it. So, but that was something they required, and the contractor was just not aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
It's a pressure regulator.
Good. I was just wondering why it wasn't included in the original, but I guess that's just one of the, as long as they took care of it, fine. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So at the Rio Grande, we, as you can tell, there's pretty good development there. The roof is almost done. The final layer, and I'll show you a picture in just a minute. There's quite a bit of work going on the skin, and quite a bit going on the 6th and 7th floor. As you can tell in this picture, it shows on the right, it shows that the stair and the elevator And there's a closeout of it, and you can tell this is looking from the west side, looking down. You can see, I would say 50% of the roof is in now. I mean, all the roof is in, but that finer layer.
Mr. Pettis,
Yes, sir.
question back on the, I guess.
Sure.
Can you hear me,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Pettis?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on the, I was there today, checking out the outside, and it looks wonderful. The only thing that I wanted to bring to your attention and ask you a question is, what kind of warranty or guarantee do we have on the plants? Because there's like 6 trees that I counted that are dead in the front.
Oh, no, don't worry about that. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we had that discussion because the contractor was saying, well, let's wait till the next spring when they can grow better. But our landscape architect actually said, no, we need to do it now because now is actually a pretty good time to plant it. And so they're already, the landscape architect, I did the walkthrough with him last week, and he pointed out, actually, there's some bushes that are missing. And he caught all that, and the contractor understands that they're supposed to replace them now. We're not going to wait till, if they're dead, they're dead, so we're going to go ahead and replace them now. I think it's only trees. I think there's a few bushes too.
Grow them because they're dead.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think it's only trees. I think there's a few bushes too yes, ma'am.
And then I have another question on the first page where you have the picture. You know, in looking at it from the freeway, I was wondering what it would cost to do to this building at the very top, the same thing that we're doing to the one at the Rio Grande, to put the EPCC name way up at the top. I know we have the name right at the entrance by the freeway, but you really only see that if you get off the freeway. But the building itself, what would it cost to put EPCC letters, big ones? You can answer now, just something that we can, after Serrata, could we look into it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because that would be a perfect spot, you know, one of the 2 sides that are tall.
Actually, yeah, I understand. I think that's actually a pretty good idea, but keep in mind that there's a monumental sign 40 feet tall that Mr. Lovato is going to be backlit, and it's going to look fantastic. And we really don't want, in my opinion, I don't think you want something in the building to fight that sign, because that sign is going to be pretty preeminent.
And how big is it?
40 feet. It's good because it's outside the city limits. We got away with the other ones are going to be a lot small, including Northwest. But because this is outside the city limits, we actually are allowed to go much taller than all the other buildings that we have, and it's going to be pretty impressive. I'll be glad if I don't know if you recall what it looks like, but it's really going to look good. It's going to have the campus name. It's going to be all backlit and very tall. But we can certainly, if you like us, we can certainly look into that.
Dr. Graham, this is Rick, if I might interrupt. That sign will be installed before the end of the year. So we'll have an idea what it looks like. And if there's a problem with that, then we can always do a change order and put something on the building as well.
Okay, and then I have one final question on this building. So the very front, you know, I mean, honestly, it looks beautiful. I love it. But where the arches are we going to put the name of the college anywhere in the building?
I don't believe so. I think the only letter we're going to have a building. I hate to mislead you on that, but as far as I remember, I don't think, Mr. Lovato, do you happen to recall?
The only reason that I'm pushing for more of the presence of the college logo or name is because we have a huge number of parents driving in and out of that area, picking up and dropping off kids. And not only the early college high school kids, but other young people that are going to college. So it's just a consideration that we can kind of maybe discuss later. But I think the building looks really, really good.
To answer your question, Paulo, the design does not call for any additional lettering or signage on the building. But maybe we should approach the architect and have him give us some idea how that might look without affecting his design. And maybe we can look at that as a possible change order or in addition to the signage project.
Mr. Roberto, it's William, perhaps, Mr. Perez, if we look at the architect and I really see this as a possibility of having a smaller monument sign in front of the building that indicates El Paso Community College, and whatever building it is entitled. But I do think I heard what Dr. Graham's saying completely. It is. I've driven in this particular building several times. It's quite impressive. So we do need to showcase it. I know that the current architectural drawings do not have anything on the building itself, but perhaps in that drive at the start of it, where you have that walkway, the checkered brick walkway that's heading to the arches, maybe right there we could have a monument, a smaller monument sign from what we'd have at the entrance of the campus.
Yes, sir. We can have the architect look at that.
Yeah. This probably wouldn't be unlike what we have at Northwest. I don't know if y'all recall Northwest, but we did put the name of the building there with a logo. I don't know if y'all recall that, but that could be something like that. Mr. Lovato, let me handle that. I'll get in touch with the architect and see maybe they can do a quick rendering of what it would look like, and maybe I can even bring it at the next board meeting.
I agree with you, sir. Yes, sir, I agree.
Okay. Any other questions, Dr. Grant?
No, that's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, back to Rio Grande. So here's the roof area, and if you can tell, they already have all the substrate in, and they're doing that final layer. On the picture on the right is the 5th floor of the parking garage, and it shows that they've already started rubbing the concrete finish to make it look better, so it won't look so rough when it's poured. And then this is in the 6th floor, looking down the corridor. You can tell a lot of the mechanicals already in, all the studs are in, and on the right as well. The 7th floor here on the picture on the left, looking at, if you recall a couple of meetings ago, you approved the sim lab equipment, and what you're looking at on that picture on the left is what eventually will be the sim lab. On the right is just in the middle of the 7th floor looking north. And in general, their progress is very consistent. Actually, their manpower increased fairly considerably due to the fact that the finish out crew, now they have an additional finish out crew. They lost some people, obviously, because the concrete is done, but that got more than offset by bringing in the crews for the finish outs of the 6th and 7th floor, as well as the roofers. So in general, it's still moving fairly slow, but it's moving systematically, very consistent. And actually, there is a little bit of a speed up, to be honest, on the 6th and 7th floor now. The subcontractor for the finishes is very good. They have great a number of people that work for them, so they're very efficient. They helped us a lot as well at Mission. When they got in there, they really moved fast and they do very good work. Now, as far as the calendar, we're still saying December 14th. May turn out to be, they have gathered some time extensions that we haven't documented yet, but it's still looking we feel fairly confident still on the spring mini master as far as having the classes, albeit we will have to allocate a bit of time to move in all that equipment and get everything set up. But at the rate they're going, it appears that that's still doable. Now, as far as the pay request, as you can tell, it's improving a little bit. It's getting a little more parallel with that, with the anticipated, the planned invoicing, and it looks good. It looks consistent, pretty steady. Hey, Valle Verde, absolutely beautiful building. I was telling Mr. Gallardo this afternoon that it is behind, and I have a little bit of bad news, but this is a building that if I was going to walk through it, I would say at least be $400 a foot. You got some wet labs with hoods in there and everything, and the quality is very good. Granted, they're very slow, and it's moving extremely slow, but the quality is good. What we have there will be a building that the college will be proud of, and it has a very, very nice context in terms of the architectural fabric, and it'll really be a major addition to the campus. Now, with all that being said, we haven't actually, let me go through the pictures first, and I'll give you the bad news. Right now, the area on the left is the flexitorium on the outside. The one on the right is looking from the northwest, and the building does look pretty finished. Even inside, albeit they still lack a few items, they are pretty complete. As you can tell, this is probably the most incomplete area, which is the lobby, main lobby, and there's the stairs there. They still need to put the railing in those stairs. But overall, in terms of architectural finishes and all, it's moving pretty good. On the left is the corridor on the third floor, and to the right, that long glass wall you see to the left, I apologize, that long glass wall to the left is the Cisco room, which is on the right, on the picture on the right, which is a big computer lab. And what you see in that adjacent room is basically the server room. And every time I go by, I get amazed by how much cabling is involved in this project. It's pretty overwhelming. So on the left, it's a picture of the flexitorium. As you can tell, they're almost done with the acoustical panels. The bleachers, we were notified now they'll be in October, all due to COVID issues in terms of production. And on the right, you can tell it's several offices in the work area. And again, I try and show you different pictures this time than what I showed you last time. The landscaping is at about 80% complete. They've done quite a bit of progress. The project trailers already got moved out. And so there has been a development, and here, this is where the bad news is. So when I created this presentation, I put under general that every effort is being made to the project to have the project substantially complete in December, pending critical IT items, has the potential to considerably delay the project. Well, at the weekly meeting this morning, we were informed that the contractor now is looking at doing all the IT work at best, and this is assuming a quick approval on a change order for January 1st. That puts us out of reach for the spring semester. And quite honestly, we don't even feel that January is realistic, given the fact that we're going to still have going with them in a pretty heavy dispute over this change order that they're telling us it's going to cost additional days and about $120,000 worth of changes. We had a meeting back in August, and but they're pushing the issue. They were supposed to issue that change order today, and this has to do with with the connections of the IT cables, and not only number of connections, but things they changed. Our take on this is things that they should have anticipated, unfortunately, because they had a change of subcontractors, and the original subcontractors didn't really have a real qualified IT group. So now we're bringing a pretty qualified IT group that obviously they want to get paid for the effort, but our argument is that it should be included. So a long story short is it seems like we're gonna probably bring you a change order to you, but we still need to have this discussion first. And the big news, obviously, this morning with the dean, they needed to know if they were still going to be able to have classes in the spring. And given the information that's available to us at this time, we just don't think that's a pragmatic statement, and we don't see a need to be kicking the can down the road when they tell us the best scenario is early January. And you'll take EPCTIP at least 5-6 weeks, and we still have to move in all the rest of the equipment. So unfortunately, I regret to inform you that not very likely, we will probably not have classes in the spring in the building. And the deans have been informed this morning. Other than that, as you can tell by this summary, the building is between 95 to 100% complete. But unfortunately, like I discussed with the deans this morning, we have to have a connected building for this building to work. There's no benefit occupying a building that's not connected. So we all agree that let's not push the issue of trying to just move in and then we can't do anything. That's the gist of it. I'm sure you might have some questions.
So Mr. Perez, this is William. Given the recommendation from our project manager in dealing with HB Construction, what is the estimated substantial completion now?
That's a loaded question. And the reason I say that is because so far we've been missing every single one of them. At this time, I've actually discussed this with Mr. Gallardo earlier. At this time, I would feel confident that it can be done by the spring meeting master. But again, it all depends on the performance of the subcontractor. And I'm sure you agree that one thing we don't need to sacrifice is the quality of the IT work or the performance of the IT sub. So at this point, if I have to venture something, I would say spring meeting master, but with a qualifier that really depends on the performance of the sub-consultant.
No,
I was going to say something.
Dr. Serrata, can you all hear me too?
Can you all hear Mel?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So this is Mel here. I have so we're entering into a peculiar moment with this contractor because they're jockeying for getting paid additional monies, and we're coordinating with the architect's IT consultant to figure out whether they have a leg to stand on or not. And so they threw a bombshell at us this morning, basically, and there's a claim for a change order that we're questioning and not necessarily agreeing on, but there's a little bit of kind of everything is interconnected at this point because that is the last item to be finished. So I think we need to get a little bit of maybe a couple of weeks or definitely by the next board meeting where we would have a better understanding of what are we going to be hardlining, not paying them additional money for that work, or are we going to give them some money and that will be definitely an encouragement to them to finish earlier. It's kind of unsettling a little bit, but we're working on it and we're working closely with your staff your IT, and everybody's cooperating on our side. It's just getting a little rough right now with them.
I understand, and I appreciate the insight. Obviously, my concern is that if we're looking at the mini-mester, that means that this building will be over a year behind.
Yeah, no, and that is correct. And we definitely have all the intention and all the documentation to hit them with liquidating damages, which would offset, of course, some of the cost of the potential change order. What we're intending to do, and again, with cooperating with your IT and facilities and Ruben's group, we're going to explore some options here and try to recommend something to you that helps us with schedule, but also respect the integrity of not paying twice for anything. And that's where the trick is, right? We were trying to find that balance. We don't want to reward this contractor to finish late and pay them additional monies, but yet we don't think it's in the best interest of the college to go into any sort of litigation or anything like that. So we're kind of trying to get to that point, that sweet point, that sweet spot, if you will. But we'll probably need a couple of weeks or 3 weeks to get to that.
Understood. And I'd asked the board, at the regular board meeting, I will be making recommendations on different items for the spring term. And so I will hold any further discussion from me until the board determines what action the college will go forward with recommendations for the spring term.
Well, this is common ground, but I guess my position is more that we just need to do everything we can to expedite it and get it done. We can't just be prolonging and coming up with all kinds of reasons why things are not getting done. That's why you were hired, to stay on top of this. And,
I understand, Dr. Ram. Let me explain. What happened in this job is that the electrical subcontractor, who is also doing the IT, left the job in a contentious matter. And that's a problem of the contractor, of course. But they had to bring a new contractor, which was much better qualified, but they were starting from scratch. And so that's taken that's been a challenge for everyone involved, of course. And now we're kind of down to that time. IT is always challenging on any regular job, especially because of the advancement of IT. And so right now, we just want to protect the college and not so that they don't have to pay twice for the same thing. And that's what we're fighting off on the contractor side.
yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, there's gotta be some kind of way that they can expedite it. If they have to work on the weekends or whatever, that's on them. We just need the building completed. We've got to get the students back in there.
We're in agreement.
Okay, then make it happen.
We're on it. We're on it, Dr. Ram. It's a matter of dollars and posturing and challenges, and we've tried a lot of things already, including a message and a letter, a stern letter from the board, and notify their bonding company. So we're doing. We're using every trick of the book, if you so to speak, to push them along, and we will be thinking of new things, and we'll run them by the staff and you all, if necessary. Hopefully not necessary.
Well, if litigation is the only route to go, then we gotta go that way, but we gotta get the building and get it ready.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Due to the COVID, we've already lost some enrollment. We can't afford not to be able to accommodate the students that are coming back because the buildings are incomplete.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We understand. This weighs heavy on our shoulders too. Yeah. I mean, we're pushing hard.
Okay, so my last question is, when can we expect to have some results as to how quickly this will be done?
Well, again, the question is, I guess my best way of answering the question is the last remaining thing here that is significant is some of the IT connectivity and hardware that goes with it. there's discussions now on to how to approach that. There's a requirements from your IT department. There's what was designed and what the contractor is interpreting. They have to do, and we're trying to reconcile those three and minimize the cost impact, and of course minimize the time delays. But
Are these the requirements? Are these the requirements,
You know.
or are they the same requirements we had on the paper before?
There's some details that are being discussed right now. It gets pretty. I mean, we could get into very technical things, but we would have to create a new presentation for that. And your staff is knowledgeable about the matter. They're being kept in the loop.
I'm sure they are, but the bottom line is we got to get the building done. The staff is at the mercy of whatever you're telling them. We are, we have to look after the budgets and what's gonna happen if we can't get the students here.
Agree. We're in agreement. I mean, but I won't. I cannot give you a date as of today. Right now, we will inform you as soon as we know how this is moving along.
We're not looking at next summer.
Sorry?
What I'm hearing from you is that we better prepare ourselves for like May, June.
No, I mean we're still talking. I mean, we're talking about potentially the next deadline here is the mini-mester, right? The spring mini-mester. And we're not moving beyond that. I mean, the contractor is still engaged and they're still working. And we have a specific dispute right now regarding the IT that is being addressed. I think their last schedule update calls for January 6th. And of course, we still have to do the college's installation after that. There's way of trying to minimize the damage on the schedule, and we're working on it.
Well, hopefully you'll have some good news soon.
I'm sorry, we hear you very broken, Dr. Graham. Can you repeat the question?
I said, I hope that we are going to get some good news from you soon.
Okay, yeah, we'll inform you. We hope so too. And next board meeting, we'll have the better answer on timing here, for sure.
But I was hoping you were gonna say a week or so. Next board meeting is a month away.
Okay, yes, we will inform as soon as we know.
No, yeah, keep in mind, Dr. Graham, that all this just transpired this morning, so we're still in the reactionary mode until we get all our ducks in a row. So, and they'll take some time, particularly given that we are going to be in a dispute, and so that's going to take some time to, like Miles said, we don't want to pay for things twice. We certainly want to be fair, but we don't want to. We don't want the college to be taken advantage of. And the other item too that everybody needs to keep in mind, it's not only get the contractor out of there, it will take quite a bit of time to get, all the IT stuff connected, to have all the equipment in it. We're trying to overlap some of that. For instance, we're still trying, the fire marshal is going to have to help us out a little bit. We're still trying to get October 16th to get at least the second and third floors with the furniture in there. So we're doing everything we can within our limits to start double backing on some of those items that we can go ahead and do. But at this time, it will be premature to give you anything until we actually can regroup and circle the wagons a little bit. So basically this slide you're looking at, that yellow arrow, as of today, moves all the way to the red because substantial completion on the 7th doesn't seem to be feasible anymore. As far all the items, they've achieved a few of them. Some of them they didn't. We're still they keep on sliding a lot of these a lot of these items. I'll give you a perfect instance of the building climatized. Last Friday, we had air conditioning in the building, and now one of the transformers went out, so we don't have, I mean, it's really, and this kind of things that you really cannot anticipate. And we should have the building back online as far as the climatized by the end of the week. But again, these are just things that happens. It's not totally unforeseen. That you always get things happening. It just seems to happen a lot in this particular project. Going on, I'm sorry, any other questions on Valle Verde before I move on to the safety update? Okay, so right now we have 772,000 hours worked, no new incidents from the last report. It's still overall very good. As far as the project schedule planner at the Valle Verde, obviously now we're moved to Spring Mini Master. And so this obviously happened after I produced this presentation. It'll be updated at the next meeting. As far as the bond update, if there's some good news is that the budget is still pretty good. We're still carrying a $2.5 million contingency. So overall, it's looking pretty good. As far as the overall bond budget, no changes on that one. We're working with Ms. Shanti's group on starting to close some projects like TTC and this line item you see here on the campus of total expenditure allowance, where the funds we'll have left over from those projects, we'll be moving them into this column, and we will not be using them unless the Ms. Shanti authorizes it. And that is it. We're still showing mission as not being covered because obviously still going to bring it one more time. Any questions? Okay, I guess that concludes this presentation.
Great. And you're going to let us know how much time you need next month for your presentation. Right? Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Harity. We're going to let you know what, I'm sorry?
How much time you're going to need for us to set up for next month? You're going to need another hour, hour and a half?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion made.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is anybody opposed to us adjournment?
Hope not.
All righty. Well, we'll be back.
Thank you. Thank you.